Our gear up for spring practice continues. We're talking about 3 hotly contested positions as we head into spring. I don't know if we learned anything going into fall, but I think that this spring can go a long way to determining who the major players are heading into fall.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get a resolution and say, okay, he's the starter, he's there. But when you look at this team, where are the holes, where are the concerns? You got to start on the offensive line for me at left guard, Austin. Who's going to be that guy? Jackson Lampley is a veteran who played well when he was asked to come into the ball game late in the year. Could he flip over and play left guard? Where's Andre Keurig? Where are they at the left guard position? I think as much as not necessarily who's going to win the battle, who's going to compete for that job? Does Aiden Bustle get in it? Does Sham get in it? What does this thing look like at left guard?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think when you look at the offensive line, it's really stable everywhere else, but a lot of question marks there. But Tennessee does have some guys with experience. Lampley did finish the season strong. Keurig, got playing time early, then got hurt and was nowhere to be found. And then does one of the young guys take a step? Who is it? Is it Bustle? Is it Sham Umarov? Is it somebody else? A lot of things to be determined. Does Vyson Lang push out to guard? With Cooper Mays back at center, just to kind of see what he can do. A lot of questions heading into spring ball at that left guard spot. A lot of questions at safety as they replace a guy who literally played in almost every snap here.
Well, they're replacing both those guys. You don't have Wesley Walker departs, but you mentioned Jalen McCullough, who had his best year a year ago, statistically. He played a gazillion snaps in his time at Tennessee. Who's going to be back there, right? Andre Turrentine made a big play in the Iowa game.
Yeah.
Where does he factor in? Where's Slaughter factor in back there? Where's Christian Charles coming off the injury? What do they look like? Is Christian Harrison going to safety? What does that look like if you go there? I think finding those pieces of the puzzle in the back end are going to be really fascinating. I'm curious to see who those potential pieces are at the safety spot. They're not depleted of depth there, but how does that fit? I think it's going to be really interesting this spring just to see who works there.
Well, all the change in the secondary, the older change, is going to force them to look elsewhere, look to maybe some unproven guys or some new names. Then, of course, you've got the young man from Middle Tennessee State, Jacoby Thomas.
Jacoby Thomas has got to come in and play and be a factor. Who's going to play around him? What do they do? I think Jordan Thomas is going to stay at star. But what if Boo Carter pushes really hard? I mean, Thomas is a guy who's flipped back and forth between safety and star. So there's flexibility. What do those bodies look like over these 15 days that you come out of there saying, okay, he's one of our 2 or 3 best corners? Remember, a year ago, Tennessee went into spring practice thinking Kamal Haddon wasn't going to be a factor. And he came out of spring practice as Tennessee's best corner and ended up remaining on Tennessee's roster and was at the NFL Combine this past weekend. So lots of things can happen. Maybe you don't inch in a starting spot, but you can create a place and value with yourself in spring. Who does that at the safety spot?
The last spot we're going to talk about is strong side defensive end. Tyler Barron gone, transferred to Louisville, which means they've got to find a replacement for that strong side defensive end. There's some different options there.
There are, but they're going to miss Tyler Barron's production. I mean, he had a really nice year last year, did a lot of things. So who is that? Now, when you go to your Rabbits package, you could play Joshua Josephs and James Pierce on the field at the same time. But Tyree West showed up in the bowl game. Is that a blip on the radar, or is that a hey, he's going to really get going here type deal? Where's Weathersby at? Dominic Bailey. You've got some bodies there.
Jason Jenkins.
You don't have anybody who's quite like Barron, I don't think, in terms of the athleticism. You got some more strength in there. So exactly what does that strong side defensive end position look like? They're really deep across the defensive front, and they've got plenty of bodies to play out there. Does anybody take that spot and run with it? Is this the time West really takes off? Or is this Weathersby, who was going to factor in big time at that position a year ago? Is this his time in the spring? That's going to be curious to watch.
It'll be interesting to see how much rust he can knock off. Because having not done anything since August, he will be, as the coaches were saying when they met with the media last week, drinking out of the fire hose. Yeah. That's going to be Tyree Weathersby, because again, there's a difference between being around your team, doing some stuff on the side, and being go going against this offense in practice.
No doubt.
He is Brent Hubbs. I'm Austin Price.